once again to the Over Manga Cast. My name is Sam, and we are in week 3 of No Read November 2, and I'm questioning existence.
This was supposed to be the good one, guys.
As you can tell by the audio quality, we managed to get in the same room for this one. I'm not sure it was for the good, because we watched this week Alita Battle Angel, which,
What sure was something.
it has the highest budget of anything we've watched so far.
This was supposed to be the good one, guys.
So, as always, we start with our familiarity with the franchise. Before, the movie was announced, I knew that Alita was a thing that existed, because it was, one of the, you really gotta read it, it's super good manga. But that was about it. And then the movie was announced, and there was the whole controversy with the eyes, and then I forgot about it until now. How about you, Jake?
Well, I was vaguely aware of an Alita Battle Angel manga existing. I also remember distinctly I had heard good things about this movie, that it was actually, just a good movie. We're going to talk about that.
Matt, how about you?
So I knew this movie as the creepy eye whitewashing movie. So that's why I picked this to be on No Read November.
And Jay.
Interesting comments. So my familiarity kind of rode the whole Alita Battle Angel hype, where I frantically tried to look into the source material and ended up reading a few chapters, but never anything into much depth. Thought it was pretty cool and put it on my list for eventually, which obviously never came around.
And that is how we ended up here with this movie that opens. Honestly, the way the movie opens is pretty indicative of the way the movie is entirely throughout, because it just opens up with the most obvious metaphor you've ever seen in your entire life and just slaps you in the face with it.
This movie does not do metaphors. It will do a metaphor, then explain to you what the metaphor meant.
But to be fair, that might be strategic marketing, as we were kind of looking for who was the target audience, and it looked like this was one of those big films of a decade that is meant to be mass marketed across various audiences.
It is a Hollywood movie meant for foreign markets, and that is very clear.
Yeah, it has producer fingerprints all over it.
Which is probably why it starts with the flying city literally pooping on the city below with its big butthole. And a guy who looks like he's out of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen wandering around, and
I just want to point this out because I'm never going to again. They show him silhouetted, and he picks up a robot claw, and for just a second, I think he looks like Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm not sure if that's intentional, but I found joy in it.
I'm just gonna say Christoph Waltz. I recognize him from Inglourious Bastards. I really appreciate him as an actor, and that was part of the reason why I really like.
No, he's an amazing actor.
Yes.
The script is the problem with everything he says.
yes.
I agree with this
Guy
assessment.
speaks 6 languages. He's just amazing. He's an inspiration. Yes.
But he finds a half-destroyed torso of a robot, and after a very dramatic shot, brings it back to his office, where he proceeds to just skips. He doesn't skip straight to giving it a full body. He brings in a carefully swaddled, lower body.
This movie it starts off doing the thing it will do throughout, where they will tease you about a secret that you're not supposed to know about. It's supposed to spark inquiry. And then a scene immediately after will basically spoil what the surprise was supposed to be. And then 4 scenes later, they'll reveal what it was supposed to be. But it's lost all impact at that point.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, it's one of those ones where it's how are you not supposed to know? It's so obvious what the thing is. Other occasions, they'll literally just say out loud what the surprise is and then act like they can do the surprise later when it should be revealed.
Wow, he's treating those robot legs with such reverence. They must mean something very important to him. oh wow, in the very next scene, he is treating the person who now has the robot legs in a very paternal manner. I wonder what this could mean. Oh, these were my daughter's prosthetic legs before she died.
Oh boy, I can't wait to get to the daughter death scene. That's one of the best.
So anyway, we get our titular character, Alita, who is named seemingly haphazardly by the doctor. She wakes up, she's just like, hey, what does food taste like? This is food. Who are you people? Do I not know you? That's okay, I trust you implicitly now. And that's about as much as you get watching the movie, so I think we're good here.
Yeah.
The warning flags of the problems of this, because, like, in all honesty, like, yeah, I'd heard good things about it. I wanted to give it as much of a chance as possible, but the warning flags come up pretty quickly. The big problem with the opening of the movie, which it ends up having ripple effects throughout the rest of it, is it's not just bad at exposition, it's awkward with exposition.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie seems to think it can just exposit literally everything, including character interactions and motivations.
The first 20 minutes of this movie are literally characters explaining the world, their own motivations, and Alita's motivations to her.
Yeah. Which is really great because she meets a street urchin who has an unusual amount of knowledge about the world's best.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of unfair to call him a street urchin. I mean, just from first glance, I kind of...
He has more money than most people in this setting.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's do this right now because we're never going to mention this for the rest of the movie because the movie doesn't. The world building in this is excellent. Like, they've got amazing background artists. Like, there are extras walking behind with like prosthetics. There's a whole thing about how the doctor is like the only person doing like quality prosthetic work in this world of people who need robotic prosthetics. And then the movie forgets that's important because Motorball exists.
We never get into why they need these prosthetics because we understand the fall.
Because it's a hard world, man. That's why.
That's the other thing. They talk about the fall, which was a war that happened 300 years ago.
Yeah.
But everyone refers to it as if it was yesterday.
As it just happened, yes.
Like, all these people who are... Like, okay, I hate the fact that I bring up Full Metal Alchemist every week of this month. But... So in FMA, there is a sequence where the brothers go to a town that is like the forefront of automail technology. And it seems pretty cool and innocent up front until you think, hey, wait a minute, why are there enough people with missing limbs to have an entire town's economy be only high quality prosthetics?
Yeah.
And then that makes you think more about, Amestress's warmongering ways, and, it adds some...
It ends up being directly plot relevant to
It ends up being directly plot relevant. Meanwhile, like Matt said, everyone talks about this 300-year-old war like it just happened, and we're all vets who need our arms replaced.
I'm just saying, we're not going around saying, you remember the revolution.
Yeah.
That's equivalent, yes.
It really does feel like that. And, like, the thing is, so many characters... Like, at one point, the doctor, he says to Alita, before the fall, there used to be police that handled crime. Dude, it was 300 years ago. Your grandparents weren't born yet. Why are you talking about this like you saw it?
Yeah.
It's a world building thing that happened so long ago, no living human should remember it. But because it's part of the world, the characters all act like they all have intrinsic knowledge of the setting. And
it's kind of a hint to the later plot because, as it will be revealed, Alita is over 300 years old.
I guess, yes, Alita is 300 years old. Spoilers. But, the main thing is that's just bad sci-fi, is when you assume the audience has the knowledge, or when you assume the characters in the world have the same knowledge the audience who witnesses things on a grand scale have. It creates a really shallow experience for them.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because so much of the rest of this does feel like a pretty intense and enjoyable cyberpunk setting.
The set design is extraordinary. It really does look like a real-life, real-world city that went through, 500 years of history and got to the state that it's in. It's just unfortunate that nearly every word spoken breaks that illusion.
Any complaints we will continue to have about this movie,
because there's a lot,
are not because of the world building or the set design. Both of those are excellent. At no point did any of us feel like this movie was cheap.
Right. And one of the big things about the world building that comes up is when Alita and the Doctor are out and about, and in probably what is the most subtle character scene for Alita, she's just hanging out with a dog, and
This dog.
That dog
sure is a dog.
It is the scruffiest looking tiny dog possible and has no reason to show up in the rest of the movie. Don't worry.
But she's just hanging out with this dog, having a cute moment. And this giant robot comes stomping by like, get out of the way or get crushed.
It literally says that out loud with words.
And Alita squares up to fight it. And it's like, oh, she just kind of reflexively did that. Hints at her past. But of course she can't fight this thing, so she gets tackled aside by a street urchin. And she is like, wait a minute, it's going to step on the dog. Save the dog.
So she does a really awkward looking flip, and my heart sunk because it looked so bad.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the rest of the set pieces were the part of the movie that was watchable.
But I'm like, wow, they really did a good job using this like miniature action scene for character informing stuff. Maybe we can have some actual like subtle descriptions. And then Hugo is who I hate so much. He steps up and he's like, that was a sentry. They patrol the streets to watch out for crime. Hey, why don't you watch where you're going? Hey, girl, do you know about Zalem?
Hold on. If they have sentries patrolling the streets for
Why
crime...
do they need the bounty hunters?
Shh, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Jay, make sure you're speaking audibly for the microphone.
No.
Please stop whispering. Please stop leaning on the thing the mic's on. We've told you not to do this already.
Stop it.
You're laughing as if we're not aware.
You guys look silly.
You know what? If the audience can't hear you, I guess that's their fault then.
Yes, audience, do better.
Audience, if you can't hear Jay, message her at sushi... I don't know your Twitter handle.
No, you don't.
She's one of the
Sushi Vampire?
She's like one of the like 24 followers we have. Just do that.
Excuse me. We have 158 followers.
Oh, that's actually pretty good.
No, it's not compared to other people in our
Hey,
demographic.
do not compare yourself.
To others in our demographic? That's a very good comparison.
It's not.
We're cutting all of this.
Wow, they're really not paying attention to the plot of the movie. Yeah, neither does the movie.
Plot.
So,
It's important.
we get
The plot.
the setup. Okay. The one moment of setup and drama we get is Alita finds a wanted poster of it's like, wanted, unknown criminal has murdered 6 human women.
Or human women. We don't know.
No, it's definitely 6 human women, but the font they chose does look a lot like an
Poor font
ampersand.
choice.
Yeah.
Poor font choice.
And then later on in the scene, Alita wakes up in the middle of the night after we witness another one of these murders. But, of course, we don't see the murderer. And it's the Doctor coming home late at night. And
Bloodborne outfit.
Yeah.
in his Bloodborne outfit with a bandage on his arm.
Man, this movie does spend a lot of time setting up this plot point that goes nowhere.
That goes nowhere and just kind of like stops existing.
Well, because
eventually.
the next scene is basically she hangs out with her boyfriend. She's like, hey, I'll show you a point of the city that no one's ever seen before, and takes her to like this abandoned church. And it's like, from there you can see Zalem, the city that lives above us. They basically just poop out their garbage onto us. Do you get the metaphor? If I had your strength, I'd just climb up there. Audience, remember that for later. And then they cut to, hey, maybe I should investigate where Doctor goes at night because he's got his briefcase.
Yeah.
And isn't this also the introduction of it's actually called Motorball, but Matt's title for the sport, Murderball, is more descriptive, more accurate, and funnier, so we will continue to call it Murderball.
It shows up on a screen, she's watching that, and the Doctor goes, you don't have time for such silly things like that. Which is a really strong character moment. it never comes up again.
Yeah.
In fact, it gets actively contradicted later.
Audience, remember, the Doctor does not like motorball. Anyway, so Alita follows the Doctor around at night, and it's intercut with this shot of this, obvious cyberpunk-looking lady in this, like, weird red hoodie cloak thing. And it looks like the Doctor's gearing up to murder her. So Alita leaps in to stop him, and he's like, "No, you messed up my trap!" Or was this another trap? As like 3 more chromed out fucking cyborgs show up.
So yeah, in retrospect, I don't understand what happened in this scene. Like, it was just like he was hunting a target, but the target was hunting him?
I think I think what was supposed to be going on is he was following someone who would have been a victim to the murderer, but it turns out that was actually a cohort of the murderer.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because this plot point never comes up again. Now that I'm thinking, why did they have the wanted poster?
So that she wants to become a bounty hunter. I'm sorry. This movie calls them Hunter Warriors, which we had to we thought. We were giving this movie the benefit of the doubt. They just badly translated what it was in the manga. No, the manga calls them Hunter Warriors. So it's just English. So it's just bad.
It's just bad. I wanted to give this movie the benefit of the doubt, and this is what it got me.
And it didn't earn it. But a fight scene happens. Alita is cool.
A good fight scene happens.
It's a decent fight scene.
I think this is a good point to point out. The fight scenes in this movie are better the amount of CGI they are. This fight scene is like 99% CGI. It's great. The only bad parts are where they have to put the human faces on the CGI models, and then it looks weird because they get stretched and uncanny valley, like, is really what this movie is basically. Uncanny Valley.
I would arguably prefer that over FMA fight scenes.
FMA fight scenes were just bad.
They were just bad on every
of
level.
all the pieces we watched during No Read November. I would definitely prefer.
In all fairness, this movie probably had 10 times the budget.
Oh, it absolutely did. I think it had a theater release, didn't it?
Yeah,
FMA had a theater release. Not in America. Not in America. Not in where the real movies come out.
Shut up.
Anyway, the point being, the fight scenes do look good. And
unfortunately for the big final moment of this fight scene, we need to get an extreme close-up on the very uncanny valley Alita eye.
Her freaking anime eyes. Hey, girl, you got them anime eyes.
Which I feel like a lot of guys would be into at first.
So, Jay,
until too much longer.
Since we've watched this movie and the audience has either decided they want to watch this movie or have decided our talking about it is good enough for them, good choice. Jay, why did they keep the anime eyes?
Why did they keep them?
Yeah, you looked it up.
Yeah, you looked it up.
So I spoiled it for myself. So apparently this had to do with arguably a lot of the background information they kept out of the movie. The more of the Martian aspect of it. So apparently the genetic mutation they did on Mars required them to make their eyes bigger so that they could absorb greater amounts of light. And
so it's for the sequel bait ending is what you're saying.
So it's an
adaptation that doesn't make sense on home Earth.
Yeah, people who haven't watched this movie, I'm sorry. It ends with sequel bait, so be prepared.
So yeah, by me adding that, that's what I meant. It's a spoiler it makes sense, but not in what we watched. There's less light on Mars, so they need bigger eyes to absorb more light.
I honestly can't believe this movie left anything out. This is the longest 2 hours of my life.
Also, James Cameron apparently, when they had the first promo, said he wanted the eyes to be smaller, so they would have potentially been even bigger than they were in the final.
This was James Cameron trying to save us.
Man, if he can give us Avatar, he can give us anything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
They were originally bigger, apparently.
James Cameron, MVP.
Yeah. But,
so Alita has a cool fight scene, reveals she's a cyborg from Mars. I guess she has that fight.
The Martian stuff doesn't come up yet. She has a war flashback of her fighting on the moon.
Oh, and we get revealed later that means she's a Martian.
Yeah,
it's not really clear.
Yeah, she has more flashbacks later, but the thing that was so frustrating to me is like because I was still holding out hope for the movie because it's like it was being extremely blunt and it was doing really bad with exposition, but like I was holding out false hope basically.
Yeah.
And it's like it does this like slow zoom into her face, which goes into her giant anime eye, into this really blunt and awkward flashback, and then it comes out for the last like 4 seconds of the cool fight scene, and then it just goes on to another exposition scene.
Yeah, she has these flashbacks where she's got like a cool like commander lady who's really cool, and it's probably one of the most characterized people in this like entire movie. Doesn't matter. Doesn't show up.
No name.
Been dead for 300 years.
Yep.
In all honesty, I wish I was watching a movie about the backstory of this because that seems significantly more interesting.
The final note I want to make on this fight scene is that the one guy that survives this is a very, very large man who is basically pure Borg, no organic. And I do not know his name, so he is Atom Smasher.
So
he's also made of basketballs.
Yeah, he's got skin, but it's been stretched over mechanical parts, so it's like he looks like basketballs.
Yeah.
Also, at this point, none of us remember any names past this.
Yep.
Because no one matters.
I barely remember Hugo.
I mean, Hugo's a cool name.
Hugo is a cool name.
Yep.
So anyway, Alita finds out she's a super cool cyborg lady who's got karate powers, which we get established. She does not have super strength. Her karate is just that good.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
They call that out specifically, yes.
I mean, did we go over the fact that her brain is still alive? Like, that's...
Yeah, she has a 300-year-old brain.
That's still functional despite her robot body.
Like, this is where, like, I need to put on my sci-fi hat and be like, is she still... she's still technically a cyborg? Or
considering we get sequel baited at the end, I think there might be some nonsense of she got thrown out by
Nova
in Zolom. Is that the name of the city? Yeah.
She got thrown out?
Well, because she was deposited on the top of the trash pile. So something weird happened there. But the movie does not give you a conclusion to this. So it doesn't matter for a review of the movie.
I have my thoughts based on the flashbacks that are revealed in the movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't think it was Nova.
Oh, okay.
Possible.
I don't think it was Nova.
Anyway, it doesn't matter because the movie doesn't tell you and this is never getting a sequel.
Let's speculate wildly.
Let us speculate wildly. But anyway, it is at this point that the movie realistically should have diverted into 3 separate timelines, and nary they shall meet. Of Alita follows her memories, Alita becomes a bounty hunter, or Alita becomes a sports star in Murderball.
And I already know which one I would actually watch.
And instead, the movie just smashes them all together and says, hey, f***s, you want
whatever this is?
Yep.
Oh, is this going to keep saying because I have to edit this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
but it is at this point that it kind of becomes a slurry of side stories. Because Alita is struggling for her identity and her lost memories. Mm-hmm. Simultaneously, she is infatuated with Motorball and wants to become a pro at it.
She's also infatuated with the person who taught her about Motorball.
I was about to say
this will get really freaking awkward often.
So there is a scene before she meets him where she's like, Motorball's kind of cool. And then she gets real into Motorball, but that's only after she's into Hugo. So I'm not 100% sure how much she's just into Motorball. But
yeah, but she's into Motorball because she's into this boy.
And they play a scrimmage match together that will not follow the rules of the sport. So I'm not sure what they were doing.
The movie never establishes the rules. It doesn't matter.
I feel like it follows the normal track record of mundane sport that people enjoy becomes high stakes and your life is on the line for some reason.
In the future. and also, Alita wants to become a bounty hunter, which is somehow separate from the following her warrior past plotline.
This movie had 3 distinct plots, any one of which should have been the entire plot of the movie. There's a strong argument to be made they could have done 1.5. And given the quality of the various set pieces, it should have been mostly Alita's past Alita learning her own past and it catching up with her with a B plot of Murder Ball, but it didn't do that.
Arguably, she catches up with her own past immediately, and then Murder Ball happens, and then the bounty hunter plot is there, and it feels rushed and is never really satisfying.
Yeah, because Alita gets real into the idea of becoming a bounty hunter because
her dad's a bounty hunter, but don't call him your dad because he's not my real dad. Only my body parts are my dad.
The only linchpin for all of these plot elements is the fact that she's trying to find out why she has these murderous battle tendencies. Has these murderous battle tendencies, and so this is like an extension of her self-exploration of self. And so that's the reason why she starts exploring all of them, but why they continue to be fleshed out, I do not understand, because halfway through, maybe she figures out her truth, and it's just like...
This movie felt like
these plot lines keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie felt like it was written by 3 different people at points.
Oh, yeah, no, I
absolutely.
strongly believe... And honestly, the thing to me, I wonder if... Because I don't know anything about the source material, I wonder if this was... that problem that we've mentioned a couple of times where the first movie, like, you know, if you either get one movie or you get a trilogy, and if this was the let's try to do everything we can first movie problem where it was shoving in a bunch of plot lines from the manga.
Except they clearly didn't, because we end on sequel bait.
We end on sequel bait, but like it does feel like this is like it feels like this is 3 arcs of a long form manga all shoved into one movie.
Yeah.
None of it was necessary. None of this movie was necessary.
No, none of this movie was necessary.
And perhaps the most unnecessary part, I don't know why this sticks out in my head so much, probably because the movie spends so much time on it, but the bounty hunter plot line that it's intersecting with... So Alita and her boyfriend go to watch a motorball a motorball match game thing.
It's effectively presented as if it's NASCAR, except the people die.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Dale Earnhardt, never forget.
Yeah. And like...
Guys, if you hadn't laughed, they wouldn't know that was a joke.
So...
You're going to hear from the Earnhardt family for jinxing them. What the hell?
So... They're about halfway through watching this match on the sidelines, and Hugo is like, "Oh, hey, babe, I gotta run." Immediately after...
I gotta go do shady shit, but we're gonna put a mask on me for about 45 seconds.
No, this movie pretends for literally like a minute and a half that you wouldn't know that this group of masked teenage hoodlums were the people you just saw leave the motorball game for having something else to do.
How dare you call them hoodlums?
They're hoodlums.
Because essentially what happens is at some point we find out that the person who's having sex with the head of the motorball league...
Not explicitly.
It's strongly implied.
She's in lingerie in his bed. That's movie talk for they...
I'm sorry that you guys don't just have chicks who hang around in lingerie around you.
I wish. I wish.
That is movie talk for that, but...
The point being that Hugo and the boys have to leave so they can go and scav it up and jack some guy's chrome. And
we're not... This wasn't cyberpunk, Sam. Wrong terminology.
Basically,
it's very cyberpunk.
They beat up people and steal their body parts.
Yeah.
But they explicitly, they don't kill them. They're not murderers. They just steal their lungs.
Yeah.
Oh, not even. They just steal their limbs. It'd be like
we see them robbing a guy. He's
of his limbs.
He's having his torso
out of his torso. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. The point being that what was the point being?
There is no point in this movie. No, so basically they get interrupted because what happened was the doctor's ex-wife is having not an affair. She's with the head of the motorball league, and he basically goes, this one motorball player is too good. He's got a weapon that instantly murders all his opponents. It's not entertaining to watch. So we need that guy's weapons taken out. The guy basically goes, hey, we need him taken out. How are we going to do that? We get our group of thugs to go take him out. And then we cut to a group of thugs who are masked. And then at the very end, it's revealed that Hugo is one of the thugs. And no one is surprised.
Shock! How could Hugo be shifty, even though it was really obnoxiously blunt that he was shifty?
The entire time
literally from the first time he was on screen.
I'm just
The
saying,
entire time he's
there's a continual trend of Alita just being very naive of people, and that makes sense once we get a glimpse into her past. She was never trained to socialize with people in unbattle related manners.
Yeah, so basically, like, Alita's just told, hey, girl, I know I took you to this NASCAR event. Can you get home by yourself? I gotta go not do crime. And she's like, yeah, of course, Hugo, you're perfect. And everyone just watches them commit a crime because they don't trust the audience to know anything.
They really don't trust the audience to know anything. The part that killed me the most, in terms of like the metaphors being completely unsubtle, is after the fight in the alleyway where Alita has her first flashback of her on the moon doing karate.
With guns.
With guns.
Also, guns are illegal in the city they're in.
Yeah.
So we just use swords sharpened to the molecular level because that's so much better.
And cybernetics that shoot out finger whips the speed of bullets.
Yeah. But the part that killed me was, so Alita has her flashback of her being on the moon. Set up. And then she is talking with the doctor about it, and he's like, oh, and the doctor doesn't want to talk about it because he wants his daughter to be, perfect and not violent. More setup. And then, third scene, payoff, Alita sitting on her bed, looking at the moon, getting up and doing katas. And that would be perfectly fine, except before she gets up and does katas, she has echoey flashback memory lines of the lines we just heard.
But it's not like she reacts to those memories, so it almost screams to me this was ADR'd in later because they didn't believe the audience would understand
the subtext.
This movie does not trust its audience to know anything
at all.
They explain metaphors. They will have needless dialogue re-explaining scenes
for the widest audience possible.
Yes.
They have scenes in the beginning that explain twists that are going to happen later. This movie does not trust its audience.
And I do understand the foreign markets thing, but at what point is it hammering the point home to appeal to non-English speakers? And at what point is it treating your audience like toddlers? Yeah.
So here's the other thing. Cyberpunk as a genre kind of depends on thought about it. Like there's a lot of like what is the nature of cybernetics?
Yeah.
Like what is the nature of reality? Like there's a lot of thought in cyberpunk as a genre that this movie just denies.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It literally explains every single thing.
There is no thought in this movie.
There's no room for deeper critical thinking.
There is nothing up to interpretation. They explain
everything.
Yeah.
I think one of the most entertaining moments was
I'm sorry, Jay, do you have a different opinion?
Please express it for the podcast.
The only point I wanted to express is I don't think necessarily that the whole purpose behind the movie is cyberpunk. I feel like aesthetically it is, but it's not cyberpunk, steampunk, or any type of post-apocalyptic punk. Anything.
No, the genre is definitely not. The genre is vaguely cyberpunk, but it's not.
It's aping the aesthetics without the heart.
This is my criticism of all the punks, which I'll go into on a different podcast. But
which one?
A discussion episode, clearly.
Yeah.
How punk isn't punk enough? Yeah. That's my complaint.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not supposed to be just the aesthetic. It's supposed to be a freaking lifestyle. It's punk.
Like, if you're cyberpunk but you play a corpo, you're not playing cyberpunk.
Yeah. Anyway.
You can't just stick gears on shit.
That's steampunk. Steampunk is barely anything.
Yeah. Anyway, the point being, Alita wants to become a bounty hunter because it helps her chase the high of adrenaline to get more flashbacks.
I guess. This plot line definitely does happen.
She goes and becomes a bounty hunter and then wanders into a bounty hunter bar and is like, hey, I'm a bounty hunter now. And they're
Oh,
like,
this scene. The best, worst scene in the entire movie.
Goes in,
Okay.
just gets her license, and yeah.
you know that meme of, hey, this is stealing Steve, this is murdering Mike, this is Tony. What did Tony do? You know the meme. I know you know the meme, audience. They do that whole bit and end it on the guy saying, yeah, we hunt our warriors. We're putting a lot of English on this that the movie doesn't. We hunter warriors. We only watch out for ourselves. It's whoever gets the kill first that matters. And Alita, after just hearing this, stands up and does a appeal to their better nature rallying cry speech about how we need to band together to defeat Adam Smasher because he's being protected by the corpos.
Which was not well established by the movie up to that.
No, she does kind of come out of nowhere saying, by the way, he's threatening my family, and one of my family is one of you guys. And after just being told that bounty hunters just look out for themselves, proceeds to appeal to their sense of community, which she just got told doesn't exist.
This does introduce the guy with the cyber dogs, though. So that's kind
We
of
do like
cool.
Cyberdog.
There was a man who sits down, and the entire time he was there, I'm like, that man is not standing up because they did not animate his robot legs. I was proven wrong, but not by much.
He's got a whole bunch of cyber dogs. The little dog that Alita became friends with.
It's there for
Randomly
no
showed
reason.
up.
That dog is not part of the cyber dogs. That dog is just in this bar for no reason.
Yep, it followed Alita and Hugo in. And met up
This
with
will
Dog Guy.
become plot relevant later.
Yeah, because Adam Smasher shows up after a bar fight.
It's a cool bar fight.
Is he? Yeah, because basically they fight Alita, and she's just like, I'll fight each of you, but if you lose, you have to join my team. But then she offers nothing for if they beat her, so it's... I don't understand why someone would fight. But whatever.
So she's winning the bar fight, whatever. Doctor shows up. He's got his boom hammer because he's a member of the Powder Keggers. This is a Bloodborne movie.
Yeah, so the Doctor has a weapon that's a hammer with a rocket engine on the back. At maybe 2 points in the entire movie, he uses that weapon as you would expect it to work. The other times, it's just a hammer that shoots exhaust off of one side with no momentum difference.
Yeah.
So Adam Smasher shows up, ruins the party, kills the dog off screen.
Oh my god, this is the wildest experience because here's Matt over here.
I am just like, I hope he kills the dog because I didn't expect the movie. The movie had been so by the books. I would have expected her to save the dog. So I was expecting it to show some amount of guts of commit to a bit and kill the dog.
I'm sitting here safe in the knowledge that they would never do that. They're not just gonna kill the goddamn dog. They'd never do that.
And somehow, this movie, in its infinite wisdom, disappoints both me and Jacob simultaneously.
Different reasons. All right. I would argue that it was then that they kind of needed to sacrifice the dog to get people to kind of buy in emotionally to this movie.
I agree with you. At that point, they did need to buy in emotionally because you don't care about anything at this point. They killed the dog off screen.
Yep.
Alita takes the dog's blood, wraps it under her eyes like war paint because she's wearing dog's blood right now. That's fine.
That's the thing.
She got that dog in her.
And then proceeds to never show the dead dog. And in group shots of the bar afterwards, the dog's body has just disappeared. So
and the pool of blood as well.
So again, they somehow managed to disappoint Jake by killing the dog, disappoint Matt by not committing hard enough to it, and disappoint everybody by being so fucking milquetoast.
You're welcome, everyone.
The movie proceeds to do nothing in this climactic scene.
So, Alita and Adam Smasher do a big fight scene. At one point, he manages to sever basically all of her limbs except one arm.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, because she's doing the Matrix dodge through his, finger whips of blades, and you're like, oh, she's so cool, she's gonna make it. And then suddenly he's like, oh no, he can control the whips as they're out. Proceeds to slice her into, 16 pieces. She falls, torso and a left arm.
Mm-hmm. So she's just got her one arm. She somehow manages to pull some Cirque du Soleil shit. And
at first she's crawling away with the one arm like you would expect, and it's one of those ones where it's like, this is actually a kind of tense scene, but I just don't care about any of the characters that are here.
How will this movie ruin this?
So she gets up on her arm, does a flip, and Adam Weskers her arm straight through Adam Smasher's fucking eye.
Yep.
And so he is chased off by Dogman. With his dogs.
With his cyber dogs.
I'll point out, they smashed their way into the basement, and he has a line about, like, didn't you know this city was built on a city built on a city? There's cities all the way down. You can keep going down. I was born here. That matters nothing. No one cares. It doesn't matter. But my point is, these robot dogs somehow climbed down a ladder into the sewers. Yeah. I don't understand how. They don't explain how.
They're cyber dogs. They are both cyber and wonderful.
Conveniently, this fight was happening directly next to a sewer entrance so that everyone could enter the scene immediately.
In order to save Alita.
Yeah.
Because her arm breaks off in Smasher's eye.
Yeah, she's defenseless entirely without perhaps her teeth. That would be cool.
She's clearly not.
Yeah. But I like how we got to the point of Alita losing her cyber body, and we never talked about the scene of Alita getting the other cyber body.
Forgot that.
I forgot, because literally what happens is it's a complete non sequitur. She goes out with her teen hoodlum friends. They're like, hey, I wanted to take you out to the Badlands. Let's take you out to the Badlands.
The Badlands. And, they're in this grimy, shitty city. It's like we're living under extreme, capitalistic, authoritarianism.
Basic cyberpunk. You're like, there's no way out. 5 minutes outside of the city, there's a fucking oasis of beautiful, jungle foliage.
It is a lush forest around a river and a lake.
You don't understand conceptually. This is Badlands compared to the city. No, obviously, people were.
You just gotta take a left turn at the intersection. If you hit the lost city of Xerxes, you went too far.
Guys, we can't go live out in the lush jungle of a perfect oasis. The Thai food doesn't deliver that far. And how can we live without Thai food in the cyberpunk future?
Exactly.
Actually, hindpoint. How can we live without Thai food in the current now?
So in this completely unlivable jungle oasis in the middle of the Badlands, they find a crashed Martian ship, because that's what the fall was. There was a Martian civilization that went to war with Earth.
Yes. Also, audience, if you're confused because you haven't watched this movie, don't worry.
We're confused too.
This scene makes no sense. It lasts 5 minutes long, and it's just exposition. They never reference it again.
Yeah, Hugo just explains that, hey, did you know this thing about the history audience and also Alita? Because that's this movie in general. And I don't know why they go to the Martian ship under the lake, but Alita's like, hey, we should go in there. To which the one of the teen hoodlums that I suppose technically is relevant later, he's like, we can't, it's underwater. Then why did you go there in the first place?
And Alita's like, hey, I've got a cyborg body. I don't need to breathe. Poosh.
No. She does not mention she needs to breathe.
Yes.
Because it cuts back to the teens, going, did she just...
Is she okay?
Did she just die?
We're completely in the dark.
Yeah, the one time this movie doesn't verbally explain something, it's to scare the shit out of some kids.
It's so dumb. But Alita goes into the Martian ship, and in all honesty, it's not a bad scene, because her going through and having the muscle memory of knowing this ship, and it because at this point it actually fully comes back to her in earnest who she was, which kind of indicates that maybe this should be not necessarily the end of the... Well, no. It's so we're almost to the end of the movie, right? We're building up to the climax, right?
We're 40 minutes
minutes into this 2-hour movie when this happens. We actually checked the the like time on the
video
on how much the movie had.
Not the first time we've checked the time on this video, but this movie had a lot of, how far are we?
So
and we find we're less than halfway through.
In the spaceship, Alita finds a super cyber body, immediately gets in a fight that causes her usual cyber body to be destroyed, so she has to be chipped into the super cyber body.
Hold on. Yeah, there's a bit of a scene where her dad, Doctor, goes like, I'm not putting you in that body. That body was made for war. You are not a warrior. You are what you choose to be. I choose to be a warrior. Well, no, I'm not allowing you to make that choice. I'm going... Well, you've kind of put me at a moral impasse here. Hopefully nothing happens to your current body. Cut forward. Well, I guess I have no choice. You're going in the cyber body. By the way, I think we skipped over the scene where we revealed that your current cyber body was a cyber body I made for my daughter who had a disability.
No, that was before that, actually. After that,
we still skipped over it.
We skipped, yes, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I am having Metroid Other M flashbacks.
So we skipped over it, and we'll mention it because the scene is terrible.
It's hilarious.
You know what? Y'all have to explain that.
Yeah, so basically, the scene happens where he reveals... Also, his wife came into the picture. We briefly mentioned his wife as being the paramour of the head of the Robot League. It doesn't matter. None of this movie matters.
Literally, the only point where it matters is they set her up as if she's going to be an antagonist, then she proceeds to literally do nothing and get killed off screen. Yeah. Because she did nothing. So what was the point of that character?
So, audience, we're going to play a fun game. Pick what you think would happen to the Doctor's paraplegic daughter. Just imagine the most cliched scene you could possibly imagine. Okay, now that you've picked that out, I'm going to reveal what the movie tells you, which was the Doctor had, in his past, built a cyber body for a murder ball player and was regretful of that. That murder ball player came to his hospital looking for drugs in the middle of the night, and he stopped him by going like, hey, no, don't steal my drugs. And he's like, I'm gonna murder everyone. And then his paraplegic daughter rolls into the scene going like, Dad, what's going on? Instead, I'm gonna murder your daughter. Ah! And then proceeds to kill his daughter.
He proceeded to provide a lot of dialogue that was not had by this intruder.
The scene is very... quick and quiet, but conveys the exact same emotion I conveyed to you.
Yeah, and like honestly, it's like a comedy cut of the daughter rolling into the scene. Like it's shot like it's a joke.
It is not given the reverence that scene deserves, and comes off comedic because of
that. Yeah.
The level, and it's basically like, yeah, that was my paraplegic daughter's body me and my wife built for her. We split up after she died. That's not going to come up again. Except for the fact that the wife feels like you're kind of a surrogate daughter.
So, a lot of unnecessary bullshit happens, and Alita is given her super cyber body, which also gives her banging tits, as it turns out.
Oh, there is a scene! So, the body is androgynous. Up until Alita's brain gets plugged in, and then the nurse, who we haven't mentioned, but she's a great side character, goes, yes, the nanites are responding to her desire for what her form should be. And she gets banging tits.
Yep.
And then the nurse proceeds to go, Doctor, she appears a lot older than you thought she was.
That made it worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because... Alita before this looked like a 14-year-old girl.
Because he used his daughter's
daughter. He wanted her to be his daughter. So she built his body to be 14. Upon not, she looks like a nice 25-year-old woman. She is hot.
Oh my god.
She is hot.
Shut up.
The movie will proceed to tell you how rocking her tits are.
Oh my god.
How rocking her tits are, how bodacious her booty be.
How weirdly sexual her relationship with her dad is.
Yeah, it's very creepy and uncomfortable. There are a lot of...
This killed me, okay? Because I believe in transhumanism. I believe in using technology to rectify the flaws of the human body. I think that a cyber body, like the one that Alita has, is something that is overall good.
Everyone should have a physical body that fully represents how they feel.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes. And like we're making fun of the whole, nanites gave her rockin' tits thing.
I was not.
Jay wasn't.
Jay admittedly wasn't. I was purposely making Jacob uncomfortable. If we're gonna fully reveal how we watch these movies, it's me being a dick to make Jacob uncomfortable.
See, here's the thing though. It does that at first. It was that bit at first. And then Alita goes over to her surrogate father and makes it actually weird.
No, the movie does double down on this, but Audience, I feel the need to fully convey me and Jacob's friendship. I do antagonize him a lot because it's funny.
It is very funny. But the thing that I couldn't help but take away from it is it started off as that dynamic. It was totally normal. And what Sam was mentioning about like the idea of technology giving people like a body that actually represents them is indeed cool. And it like the movie conveys that. And then the movie proceeds to make it weird. And it actually becomes that joke we've been making.
It proceeds to double down on the man she has at this point told is not her father and has had multiple scenes in this 2-hour movie explaining this man is not her father. She then proceeds to, after having this new body, immediately display a daughter-father relationship.
A filial affection,
which doesn't come off that way, considering she's done so much to say that is not true.
Mm-hmm. And the point I'm trying to get at, I was trying to get at, was the cybernetic body, despite having a feminine form, is inherently sexless. And
we don't know that.
We don't know that. But it doesn't appear to have a physical sex to it. And so that makes Alita being naked feel not being naked until she puts clothes on, and then taking clothes off becomes nudity. So when she gets the new super body and she's doing acrobatic stunts, spreading her legs in this naked form in front of her surrogate father,
it gets weird.
It's really weird.
This scene is really weird. Jay is nodding her head, acknowledging the scene is weird. Mm-hmm. That's the benefit of us recording in person. I can convey to you Jay's subtle head nods that are most of her opinions on things.
I mean, I didn't pick up so much of the sexual overtures that you guys apparently zeroed in on because I am not a perv.
You know what? That's true.
That's fair.
In this context.
In this context is an important caveat.
Yeah. So
the
anyway,
thing is you're self-aware.
a lot of unnecessary bullshit happens. We get to perhaps my favorite scene of disconnected narrative from action, which is Alita is going to participate in Murder Ball because she needs money to send her boyfriend up to Super Space Place.
So boyfriend has an apartment that is
which is windows.
That is 7 windows facing an open screen. Not a blind to be seen. And that's the most cyberpunk thing possible. Is there's no such thing as privacy in your studio apartment.
Also, he sleeps shirtless.
It's a very sexual scene.
I also sleep in my tight jeans belt and no shirt, so in a fuckable position.
This boy is awoken wearing tight leather jeans and no shirt and a crucifix necklace. I don't even know what that means in this setting.
I feel it almost would have been less sexual if you were just wearing boxers.
It 100% would.
Yeah,
it would have been.
It would just be, I accept this reality where we do not have privacy.
He then just needs to sexually put on a t-shirt.
Because again, visually, layers of clothing imply different layers of nudity and sexuality. And there is a point where, wearing one article of clothing and abstaining from another makes you more naked.
So regardless, boyfriend has told her at this point there is a certain amount of money that gets him to Zalem?
Zalem.
Gollum.
That's right.
Gollum.
So there's a certain amount of money that he's going to use to get up to Zalem.
90,000.
And he needs 90,000 more.
Yeah, and Alita basically just goes, I'll sell my body for that.
I'll sell my organ.
No, she does say, I'm going to sell my heart, the most valuable part of me. And because this movie doesn't trust its audience at all, the scene immediately before this was the head of Murder Ball and the doctor's ex-wife going if we could just get her heart, that has Martian technology. I know what you're saying. Man, guys, you didn't mention the Martian technology at all. Doesn't fucking matter. No one cares. This movie just throws shit at you and expects you to understand because that's how sci-fi works.
It's little with flavor. By the way, she's from Mars.
So, Alita's like, I'm gonna participate in Murder Ball now. Whee!
Well, I mean, we barely touched on how awkward the scene where she opens her shirt and pulls her still beating heart out of her chest to present it to Hugo is. I love it. Because, like, the best part is we were all really uncomfortable. Hugo was really uncomfortable with
like, this is weird.
He's basically like, please stop, don't do that.
But anyway, regardless, the movie's then perfectly okay saying everyone is now cool with Alita committing murder ball. Even her dad, the doctor, who's just like
backstory reasons to hate it.
He hates murder ball, except he's now just like, no, I agree. You should be murder ball. You should go compete in murder ball and be very good. And then upon watching the competitors realizes, oh no, all the murder ball competitors are planning to kill you. Oh no, that is against murder ball rules. You need to get out of murder ball. And she's just like, I thought everyone was always planning to kill me. This is murder ball. It's different because they're all against you. What?
It is slightly different because usually they would be after each other.
The audience is not made immediately apparent what the difference is.
The audience doesn't matter. The audience doesn't matter.
The audience is the person watching this movie.
The audience doesn't matter. The audience doesn't matter.
That's certainly what the movie seems to think.
thing, Jay.
I'm just saying objectively, the whole dynamic is turned off because instead of them fighting each other, they're like working as a cohesive unit to target you.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter because murder ball happens and she proceeds to clown on every single competitor. So none of the warnings mattered.
She clowns on all of them. She breaks out of the arena at one point.
Right before that, I want to point something out because this is very much the case where this is such an example of how movies can just like completely fail and fall on their face. Because there's a moment where like they're playing murder ball. I have no idea what the rules of murder ball are, but like Alita has the ball that is the ball in murder ball, and she's going around the track with it because there's a track, I guess, and at some point she throws it at one of the other competitors and it falls to the side. I understand what that's supposed to mean. They're dropping the pretense that this is a game of murder ball. This is just a fight now. Cool. That was never conveyed to the audience because we don't know what the rules of the stupid game are.
Yeah, so audience, to explain to you, murder ball is introduced to us as like a street game that's basically basketball combined with roller derby. Like roller derby, right?
Yeah.
And what we see is like NASCAR combined with IGPX, if you remember that Toonami anime.
Yeah.
Like that's...
Yeah, it's literally just IGPX.
So at one point, by the way, while this entire thing is happening, Hugo is being attacked by one of the Hunter Warriors. He's kind of important, I guess.
He's the only one who's ever mentioned by name. We don't remember
his name. Call him Curare because he has Curare's sword from Batman Beyond.
Sure.
Why not?
I was going to call him Damascus because he calls it the Damascus sword.
Well, that's what Alita calls it, is you have the Damascus blade?
This rare Martian weapon. But anyway, Hugo gets attacked by this guy. This guy commits a few murders.
Well, no, because Hugo goes up to his crew and he's just like, hey, I'm not committing any of your parts junks anymore. And the guys are like, you can't get out. You're already too far in. We don't commit murder, but we steal body parts. And then Hunter Warrior comes in and is like, no, you committed murder. Kill that guy. That's you who did it. I'm doing this to get back at Alita. None of this is conveyed in the movie.
Yeah.
It's so technically, if you watch the movie, technically he should have an opinion. None of it's conveyed that it should be this extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Hugo's being chased by Hunter Warrior Man.
One of his friends gets bifurcated. That's the thing that happens.
Doesn't matter. No one cares about him.
No, it's so.
So Alita breaks out of Murder Ball, gets chased by 3 more guys, commits several murders in the process.
Also,
I want to make it very clear: Alita kills people.
Alita has killed at least a dozen people at this point.
The first fight scene that she's actually in, she explicitly decapitates and crushes the heads of 2 people. if you have a cyber body, you're unusually durable, but they make a point of saying if you destroy the head, they're dead.
Alita has killed at least 12 people without remorse at this point, which is important for the scene that immediately precedes.
Yep, because she finds Hugo, she finds Hunter Warrior chasing him, and I guess Hunter Warrior's fraud gets Hugo accused of murder, and Alita's like, You killed someone? What? No! And it's this big, huge, dramatic scene of, I can't believe you killed someone. And he's like,
As
no,
if she hadn't just crushed somebody in a grinder literally 45 seconds ago.
No, I never killed someone.
Alita literally had 7 Mortal Kombat kills in this movie.
Yeah.
And proceeds to care that her boyfriend might have murdered someone.
I feel like a caveat here is that the fact that, first of all, she never asks what he does for a living. And second of all, the fact that she, like, assumes that the people she's going to be up against are similarly, like, bad people.
Well, here's the thing.
And people can justify, it's okay if I kill them, they're bad.
I'm wondering where her moral high ground is coming from is really my thing.
Yeah, that's sort of my take on it as well.
Anyway,
she's speaking down to someone as if he should be above this. Meanwhile, she has just physically murdered 7 people.
Yeah. So a whole bunch of convoluted bullshit happens.
Which is the rest of this movie.
Yeah. I really don't feel like going beat by beat.
We really can't. I don't remember.
Yeah. So the long story short is that Alita has another war flashback of her as a Martian super cyborg trying to kill Nova, who's the big bad guy. We haven't explained.
The dragon you need to slay.
Yeah. Nova's the big bad guy. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it too much. He's the bad guy.
Also, I don't think we mentioned Nova can take over the head of Motorball's eyes.
He can take over several people.
Also, Adam Smasher's eyes, but seemingly no one else's. But it seems to be implied he could do whatever he wants. I don't know.
They say explicitly that Adam Smasher has a chip in his head that is what's being taken over. It can be presumed that they're because this is a cyberpunk trope of, eyes and ears everywhere,
but
being
Jacob,
expressed very poorly.
Jacob, we're already an hour and 45 minutes into this movie. We only have 15 minutes left. What could possibly happen?
Well, what could possibly happen is that Alita has her flashback of going to try to kill Nova, and then Hugo.
There's like a rollerblade thing on a.
There's a rollerblade. There's a rollerblade thing on a cable, which is a classic Sonic hazard. You think you just jump over.
It's real dumb.
Hugo gets put in a cyber body. Hugo goes to try. Now that Hugo has a cyber body, he tries to climb the cable.
Oh, yeah, because we completely forgot. Alita's mom sacrificed her life to save Hugo's head. And then when she got back, she was killed off screen by Nova for betraying her.
Which I love it because she's not done anything this entire movie, and she got killed off screen because she didn't do something when she could have. For no reason.
They set her up as a main antagonist, and she gets dispersed off screen.
Yep. So the point being that in Alita's flashback, nobody jumped over the obvious Sonic hazard. In the present, Alita and Hugo try to jump over
Hugo has decided he's going to run up the cable connecting Zalem to Earth.
Yeah. So Hugo goes to jump over the hazard, misses, gets chopped to bits. Alita jumps over it because she's got a super body.
The super body that all of them had the first time around.
Yes.
Right, begs the question.
Hugo's then dying, hanging from a thread, going like, let me go. I know you saved me, but let me go. And I say, Alita's just like, I can't let you go. I love you too much. We can have a life together. This is exactly what Nova wants. And then his body is snapping and it's just like, you are literally hundreds of times stronger than him. Why are you letting him dangle like you're both equal weights? The point of this scene in a normal movie is you don't have the strength with one arm to hold a human body, but we've established your Martian body can do whatever it wants.
Well, not only is she massively strong, but he's also not a whole human body. He's like a quarter of a torso and one limb.
It doesn't matter. Hugo is saved to die in the scene.
Yeah, and you're saying there's so many things in my head. Immediately, she could have used used her legs to, like kick his body up so she could get a better grasp of him. She could have fallen down with him and used her Martian body to cushion the blow and save his head.
And if, like us, you were like, man, this is really intense. How much of this movie is left? You then look and it's like, 5 minutes? Wait a second. What?
I've been had.
And so we end on the cliffhanger ending, the sequel bait ending
of Alita has decided to retire from being a freedom fighter to join Murderball full time and has rose to the ranks to the head of it because, as we've established, the only person that gets to go up to Zalem
is the head Murderball player.
Which doesn't make any sense because that's not what the head of Murderball told us earlier, but whatever. And Alita then points her sword, which ignites in blue fire, which is a thing they established she can do, but never matters.
It never matters, nor is it ever explained.
Nope.
And Nova then looks down and they're like, oh no. And then the credits roll, and then me in the back of everyone else, because that's how we sit, going, what the fuck is this bull?
We did skip a scene where Alita confronts the Murderball head guy, but that doesn't matter either.
Well, he's taken over by Nova, and then they talk with her, and nothing gets revealed, is the thing.
It's all things we already know.
It's just Alita's being informed of things the audience knows.
Yeah.
And then she stabs him. And a really good line, I'll admit, the guy controlling Nova goes like, oh, well, that wound appears fatal. Well,
that was objectively perhaps the best Nova scene because he is piloting a remote body. He doesn't care that this body is now dead. So him having a completely normal conversation as the body is dying was a good indication of his, power.
They've not done that previously, so this scene is...
Yeah, it's a good scene wasted.
Anyway, Alita's squared up to fight Nova, and movie's over, thank God.
Yep.
This was supposed to be the good one.
So,
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Let's go around the horn. Jay, since you volunteered, what do you think of this movie? Would you watch the sequel that won't exist?
So, first off, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Not for the same reasons as my cohorts, probably, but... I saw the potential it could have been and was very easily able to pick out the bits that could have been perhaps dumped on the cutting room floor to make this movie palpable. I did enjoy the action scenes, though.
Sam, what'd you feel about this movie, and would you watch the sequel that won't exist?
I don't think I would watch the sequel that won't exist. I had a decent amount of fun watching the pretty cutscenes. But when I watch something that has a whole bunch of cyberpunk aesthetic, I'm inclined to think about it a lot. And I tried to think about this a lot, and it just...
That's a fair assessment, honestly.
Jacob, what was your opinion?
This is very much the kind of thing that, my immediate reflex is oh man, I want to see if I can script doctor fix this, but because this is an adaptation, the strongest sense that I get is, and in all honesty, this might actually mean that it succeeded in a weird way. I kind of want to check out the source material. I don't think I would. I'd probably have to be bribed to watch the sequel that won't exist. But I don't think I'd watch the sequel that won't exist, but I do kind of want to check out the source material almost entirely because I see the potential in this. There's a lot of cool here. In all honesty, there's a lot of really good metaphors that got explained to the audience. There was a really fun moment where we were mocking its ability to, or its proclivity to constantly explain the metaphors. I'd rather be a king in hell than a servant in heaven. And then Matt says out loud, and now you're going to explain the metaphor. At which point the guy stands up and walks around another character explaining how that metaphor works.
It means I'd rather be at the top of the food chain at the bottom than a servant at the top.
This movie does not trust its audience to understand shit.
Yeah.
So it was really funny in that. And honestly, the fight scenes were really cool and really well done.
Yeah, fair.
So,
finally, Matt here. You know what? If this movie gets a sequel somehow, I would love to watch it with my friends because I love nothing more than watching a terrible movie with my friends and being able to enjoy their suffering. Because I have excommunicated myself from the enjoyment of the movie. I just enjoy that they're not having a good time. Because I'm a good friend.
And now you understand the entire dynamic of this podcast audience. So thank you once again for tuning in to the Over Manga Cast. As always, you can find us on all your social media platforms where we are at Over Manga Cast on Facebook, Instagram, and maybe Twitter will still be alive by the time this goes up. And go to overmangacast.com where you can find all of our episodes and leave comments.
And if you ever want to reach out to us directly, overmangacast@gmail.com. Great way to send reviews, requests, anything. I know we've been a bit behind on requests recently. We've had 2 theme months in a row. I'm sorry. We're doing a request early December, not the first month in December, because that's how schedules work, but you'll get to it.
What?
Jay, shut up.
Anyway, make sure to join us again next week where we are rounding
We're
out...
not watching anything at all. Funny that.
If only. No.
We are rounding out this panoply of pain with... The Last Airbender.
Oh, no.
But for you, you get to wait a week. Because our suffering is eternal, and I get to drink in the suffering of my friends.
And I'm going to go drink alcohol. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.